The night her life fell apart, Ariba stood in the middle of an empty street, with the taste of rain and heartbreak mixing on her lips, wondering how a woman could lose everything she had built in a single breath. It wasn't the storm that scared her. It was the silence inside her. The hollow space carved by the man who had once promised to protect her. She had given him her loyalty, her youth, her hope for a family, only to be cast aside like a broken vase simply because her womb could carry life the way he wanted. The door he slammed behind her felt like a verdict. Barren, useless, unwanted. She hugged herself as thunder split the sky, and for a moment, she believed maybe fate had already written her ending. That? When the world began nudging her toward a story she never imagined, one that would teach her love could grow even where life had once refused to bloom. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and compassion, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel reach more hearts just like yours. Ariba had never imagined marriage could end this way. After years of trying, praying, and silently breaking apart inside every time another test came negative, she had hoped her husband would at least hold her hand through the storm. Instead, he let the storm swallow her. He told her she was a burden, a disappointment, someone who could never make him a father, and despite everything she was willing to give love, loyalty, even acceptance of treatments that filled her with pain, he chose to walk away. She moved into her mother's tiny home, where every corner reminded her failure. She carried the invisible bruise of being told she wasn't enough. She stopped attending family gatherings because someone always asked when she would have children, not knowing she had already been thrown away for not being able to. Days passed like shadows. She volunteered at a local community center just to keep her mind from drowning in the memories of what could have been. She cooked meals for the elderly, helped organize supplies, anything to feel useful in a world that had so easily labeled her useless. One afternoon, she noticed 5 children sitting on a bench outside the center, their clothes dusty, their backpacks torn, their eyes filled with the kind of quiet sadness children should never know. They sat close to one another, as if guarding something fragile. Ariba approached them slowly, bringing extra sandwiches she always carried. The youngest, a tiny girl with tangled hair, looked at her with wide eyes as though she wasn't sure if kindness was real. When Ariba handed them food, they accepted it with grateful hands but hesitant hearts, like kids who knew life didn't often give without taking. She realized then how much hunger could exist beyond the stomach hunger for attention, for safety, for softness. The siblings introduced themselves shyly, and though they spoke little, their presence lingered in her mind all day. She learned from the center manager that their father, a widower named Hamza, worked long hours as a mechanic, and often brought his children to the center's front steps when he didn't have anyone to watch them. He didn't trust babysitters. He never smiled. He avoided conversation. He lived inside a grief fortress built brick by brick after losing his wife during childbirth with their youngest. The manager said the man was good, hardworking, responsible, but unbelievably alone. Ariba found her heart aching for the children long before she ever thought of the father. She began carrying extra snacks, small toys, hair ties for the girls, and little sketchbooks for the boys. The children grew attached to her quickly, their eyes lighting up every time she arrived. The youngest would climb into her lap as though she had been waiting her whole life for that one place of comfort. Ariba didn't know when it happened, but somewhere between packing school lunches for them and helping them with homework, on the center's old wooden table, she began feeling something warm crack open. Inside her, a place she thought had died the day her husband threw her out. As weeks passed, she finally met Hamza. He approached quietly one evening, exhausted, his hands scarred from long days of repairing engines. He thanked her with a soft nod for caring for his children. Ariba felt something unfamiliar in his eyes, a mixture of appreciation and confusion, as though he couldn't understand why someone would show kindness without wanting anything in return. He rarely spoke, but the kids adored her more each day. She never expected anything from him, and he never asked anything of her. Yet their lives kept crossing like 2 rivers drawn by the same wind. Whenever he arrived late, he would find his children with their bellies full, their homework done, their clothes cleaned, and Ariba sitting among them as though she belonged there. He saw how gently she loved them, how naturally they leaned on her, how peacefully they slept when she was near. Something inside him softened, though he kept it hidden. One Sunday, the youngest child fell sick at the center, trembling with fever. Ariba didn't think twice before rushing her to the clinic, sitting by her side, wiping her face with cold compresses, and whispering soft words to soothe her. When Hamza arrived breathless, panic written all over him, he froze at the sight of Ariba caring for his daughter with the tenderness of a mother. He didn't speak much, but his expression revealed a silent question. Why was this woman doing so much for children who weren't hers? Ariba looked at him and felt no hesitation. She wasn't trying to fill a void or replace anyone. She was simply giving the love she had always carried but never had the chance to use. Days turned into months, and the connection between them grew in the spaces, between words, in the shared glances, in the unspoken gratitude. The children began calling her their angel, and though she laughed it off, the name stayed with her. One evening, as she walked home after helping at the center, she wondered if it was possible for the universe to give someone a second chance at life, not by fixing the past, but by opening a door she never knew existed. Yet she dismissed the thought. Someone like her, divorced, barren, heartbroken, wasn't the kind of woman men chose, or so she believed. But life has a way of surprising the ones who think their stories are already over. One late evening, Hamza arrived earlier than usual, his children chasing each other in the courtyard, their laughter rising like a forgotten melody. He asked Ariba if they could talk. His voice shook slightly, not with fear, but with the weight of years spent carrying everything alone. He told her she had brought back something into his home he thought he had lost forever: warmth. He said his children cried whenever she wasn't around, asked for her when school ended, slept holding the little craft she helped them make. Then he said something she never expected, that she had become the light in his children's lives and, unknowingly, in his as well. Ariba's breath caught. She wasn't prepared for emotions to bloom in a heart she had buried. She felt unworthy, hesitant, terrified. She told him she couldn't give him more children. She told him she was barren, rejected, unwanted. She told him she was broken. But Hamza simply looked at her, his eyes filled with sincerity, and said he wasn't searching for someone to give him children. He already had 5. What he needed was someone who knew how to love without conditions, without expectations, without fear. Someone who could help rebuild the home that grief had shattered. Someone like her. Ariba cried silently, letting the tears cleanse years of hurt. For the first time since her marriage ended, she felt seen not as a barren woman, but as a woman full of warmth, compassion, and quiet strength. She accepted his proposal only after spending many nights, wondering if she deserved this happiness, if she could handle the weight of becoming a mother to 5 children. But when the children hugged her with all the trust their small hearts could hold, she realized she had already stepped into the role long before she acknowledged it. They married in a simple ceremony witnessed only by the children, her mother, and a handful of neighbors. There was no expensive dress, no decorated hall, no orchestra, just genuine smiles, laughter, and hope. When the children called her Amy for the first time, she felt a part of her soul come alive in a way she had never felt before. She learned to braid hair, to mediate sibling fights, to help with homework, to cook for a family of 7, to listen, to guide, to encourage. She learned that motherhood wasn't defined by biology, it was defined by love. The children slowly filled every empty space inside her heart with their tiny hands and loud voices, and Hamza, with his quiet strength, became the partner she had once prayed for, someone who held her without demanding perfection, someone who loved without asking for proof. Years later, when she watched her children run toward her after school, backpacks bouncing, eyes shining, laughter echoing, she realized she had not been cursed, she had been redirected. Life had not denied her motherhood. It had given her a version of it richer and deeper than she had ever dreamed. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow and reach more people who need stories of hope. Special request, before the ending, comment second chances are real if you believe everyone deserves another shot at happiness. Ariba often stood by the window of her new home. Watching her family, her second chance fill the courtyard with life. She no longer remembered the girl who cried alone in the rain, rejected and abandoned. She remembered instead the moment fate placed 5 little hearts in her path, and a lonely father who saw the worth in her that she had forgotten. She understood now that sometimes life takes away only to give back something far more beautiful. And as she felt the tiny arms of her youngest wrapped around her waist, calling her the best mother in the world, Ariba whispered a silent prayer of gratitude for the journey that led her here.